Hi. um, my screen just disappeared and then reappeared again. Okay, cool. Let's just check in. On Instagram. Let's just get logged in. Here we go. Everything's good. All right. Checking connection and going live on Instagram. Okay, great. We've got a few people here. Hi. Thanks for joining us today. I'll give everyone a little bit more time, just a minute, just to get on here. But if you haven't downloaded the workbook yet, just make sure you download it because we are going to be following it. You can get it from my Instagram bio or you can get it from idbs.online. It's literally /W for workshop and then 0931. If you are on YouTube, hi everyone on YouTube, you can download it underneath the thing. If not, just ask in the chat box and then Darius will help us. Cool. So thanks for joining me today. We'll get really stuck right into it because I can see there's a few of you here. Hi, you're amazing. On our session on how to run a profitable interior design business. So those of you who are already in business know that it has everything to do with the services you're offering and making those services viable and profitable. And then, of course, communicating what it is that you do at each of these phases of a project clearly, not only before you kind of set out to undertake the work, but during the project as well. So if you haven't read our most recent blog post on our website, idbs.online, then please bookmark the page and read it after the session because it kind of goes into more detail than I'll go into today about the phases of the project. So for those of you who have read it, you'll know that what I'm going to be talking about today really requires you to thoroughly understand the phases of a project, especially as an interior designer. So, and I don't mean knowing what the phases are, I mean truly understanding it and then completely so that it's ingrained in you and you know where to start and stop, because this really is the key in creating unique services, but also making your services profitable. And of course, helping to communicate what is included in your fees or not with ease and clarity to clients. So, which obviously in turn helps you, helps your clients see the value in the work you do and make more money. So that is what this session is about. The workbook looks like this. That's my bad printer, just printed a terrible amount of construction drawings this week. So my printer's ink is a little bit low. You can download the workbook on my bio on Instagram, on YouTube, and of course on our website. So you can watch this session live from the website too, if I know some of you are doing that. So if you have questions, I won't be reading them as we go. But do write them down and save them for the end of the session, and I'll do a Q&A right at the end. Let's get into it. Okay, so as you know, we're going through this workbook. So page 1, what do you think is the problem? We'll start off this session really by having a little think about your current business setup. And as you know, I'm a big believer in intuition because especially as a business owner, I always say that you already know the answer if you really just take a moment to listen to your intuition. So we're going to start this session and give you literally a moment to write down what you genuinely think is the issue with your interior design business and why you believe that it isn't profitable at the moment. So grab a pen and literally write it down right now. So either in your notebook, if you're using a notebook digitally, if you're typing, or if you've printed out our workbook, you can write it in there. So literally write out the first thing that comes to mind. So what do you think is the main reason why your interior design business isn't as profitable as you'd like it to be? Just write it out, get it out. And I know a lot of people typically think that it's the type of clients that they're attracting or the types of projects that they're getting that just aren't right or they're undercharging. or they're just too afraid to ask for the price that they want. So, well, for all the work that they're doing, which is a lot. And I've been there. I think my first full house project I was offering for £250. So that included everything. And these days it's about $300. Um, so a lot of work for not a lot of money. And yeah, I definitely understand that feeling of being underappreciated. Or, well, at the time, I think I just wanted like any project. So £250 for me was actually quite a lot of money, but not when I had to pay well, I needed £2,000 to survive off every month, and 250, you can add it all up and how many projects I needed every month to make that work. So yeah. What do you think is the main reason why your interior design business isn't as profitable as you'd like it to be? Just note it down. No one's watching, and just be honest with yourself. I suppose because that's really where the magic begins. So next, we're just going to point the finger. A lot of the time we hold grudges and we blame past experiences, people, clients, ourselves, or in my case, I blamed the fact that I grew up poor, and that I just wasn't smart enough on my failures. So these may or may not be true. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. We just want to identify what the block is. So just get it off your chest and answer the next question, which is, if you could choose one thing or person to blame, who would it be? Get it off your chest. And this is great because it kind of just releases all the energy. And, if you could blame anyone, any event, any reason for your current situation, it's the state of the economy, it's the fact that I didn't get paid this month. I don't know. So who do you blame? What is it? Write it down. Let's just see what it is. Because as soon as you put it down on paper, you'll start to really understand what could be your block. And those of you who have worked with me in the past know that I love facts and data. So, because the answers to your questions lie in that data. And even with something as ambiguous as pointing a finger of blame, there's always a little bit of truth in it for you. And either way, it's affecting you in a big way. So, we need to point it out. And once again, no one is watching. This is your moment. Get it off your chest and just write down the answer to question 2. So if that was the emotional reason behind the problem, next I want to highlight the practical reasons that your interior design business might not be profitable. So in this section, write down or circle any of the following that apply. So that's these ones here. So just circle any that apply to you. It might be all of them. They were all of them for me at the beginning. But yeah, so this, just circle any. It could be undercharging. It could be not charging for all the work that you're doing, which is a very typical one. It could be that you're not attracting the right clients. It could be that you're not attracting the right projects. It could be that you've got too much competition in your area. You're all doing the same thing. You don't have something that you need is a big one, such as a portfolio of work. Or for me, it was money. Money was a real big block for me because I didn't have any. And I was an architecture student, well into my late 20s. So when all of my friends already owned houses and had 10-year-old kids, I was just graduating architecture school. With obviously loads of student debt. So for me, I was always blaming money. I always thought that money was a thing holding me back and that I needed money to make money. And it obviously was just a belief I had, but it was pretty well ingrained. 30 years of my life, I was just struggling because I was a student. So that always was my blame. I always just said, I don't have the money to be successful, which obviously isn't true. So another one might be that you're disorganized, or you don't have processes in place. I put another one down here today. Time management could be another one. So just whatever you think it is for you. Another one is actually you're winging it. I see that one a lot too, or you just don't really know what you're doing. But outside appearances, you're doing a pretty good job. But actually, there are there are moments where you're just like, I really don't know what I'm doing here. So, obviously there are an infinite number of reasons. And if these don't obviously apply to you, write down the ones and the practical reasons that do apply to you. Right. So next page, Oh, no, focus area. So the reason why we started this session with these 3 questions was to get to this point. So the focus area at the bottom, where we can identify a focus area to move forward with. So have a look at what you have written down in these first few sections, or circled on the page, and pick out something that feels like the real big issue. What do you think is the glaringly obvious thing that's wrong with your interior design business, or the reason behind it not being as successful or profitable as you'd like it to be right now? So not in the past, not in the future, right now. And I'll give you a second to do that. For those of you who joined us late, we're just working through the workbook, which you can download on our website, idbs.online. If you're watching on Instagram, just click the link in my bio, download the workbook there. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link for you too here. And we're just finishing the second page of the workbook titled The Problem, and writing down the main issue area that you'll be focusing on during the session. All right. So when I did this, I literally wrote, the first was wrong projects, the second was the wrong location, and the third was time management, and then the focus area would be undercharging. So whatever it is for you, everyone will be different because you'll be all at different phases of your business. Okay, so the next page is page 3, and it's titled Project Phases. The majority of you have hopefully come prepared to the session and read the blog post on the website titled The Real Reason You Can't Run a Profitable Interior Design Business, and understand my viewpoint on this and the reasons why you need to thoroughly understand the project phases. Just as a brief overview, we will go through it just now, just as a brief overview, very brief. The typical phases of a project are pre-design. So feasibility, budgets, briefs, brief setting. So these are called different things around the world, which can be really confusing. So in the UK, we call it appraisal and design brief stages A and B, according to the RIBA work stages. In the US, you call it programming. I personally call it preparation because I'm a bit basic and I like to actually understand what it is that I'm talking about. So yeah, preparation, feasibility, it's the pre-design phase. So the next phase is concept or sketch design. This one's pretty obvious. This one is a little bit more self-explanatory, but in the US, this is typically called concept development and presentations phase. So, but realistically, I think most people understand what a concept is. The pre-design phase is a little bit more abstract, but it's, I think that once you start to understand like the phases of the project and how it all comes together, it all starts to fall into place. So next is what we call the detail design phase. Design development, design documentation, and in some areas like the US, you'll also lump in the next stage into detail design, which is called technical design, or what we call here in the UK product information stage. So I typically will separate technical design from detail design. I know in the US, like architects won't, but it really is in terms of interior design, because you may not be doing the technical design in your business, but you will be doing the detail design. So this might be where you're, for example, sending out the drawings to a joiner to do the shop drawings, so that you're not doing the shop drawings because you're not a joiner. So you wouldn't be like literally building the furniture yourself. That would be the technical part of the design that goes off to somebody else. So the detail design, you would be designing the details for the technical designer. And that's why I separate them too, because they're two different phases. So next one is pricing, bidding, or tender. Obviously, we call it different things around the world. I knew it as tender in Australia. It's the same in the UK, but for the rest of the world, well, US call it bidding, the bidding stage, but the rest of the world, it's where we price the project. So, but it's an actual phase. And I think some people are really surprised about this. It's a phase of a project. And within an architectural or construction project, this is it's a very obvious phase. So we do, well, the idea is that we use this as an opportunity before starting on site, really. Typically, once a builder is appointed or close to being appointed, to work more collaboratively. So, you know, the majority of us who are very experienced at tender processes and bidding, we all know it's an opportunity for the project to be value engineered. So, yeah, it's the funnest phase of the project for most designers, but it's a very clear phase. The next phase we are all pretty clear on, although Americans love to call it execution. But in the UK, we just call it mobilization and construction, and specifically for the interior designer, because unless you're a design and build firm, you won't be the one physically undertaking the building work. So you'll be undertaking the role of FF&E ordering during the construction phase. So I think that's really important to know. So it's you're not the contractor unless you're a design and build company. You're an interior designer. And so one of your roles during construction might be FF&E ordering, unless you're just specifying all of those things at detailed design stage or technical design stage. So you may not have to do this phase of a project at all. And in fact, a lot of the mentees that I have, I discourage them from taking on any kind of construction phase work, because that's where a lot of liability lies. So most places around the world lump the next few kind of phases together into construction, which I personally disagree with. But these are the interior design installation phase, which I also separate from the styling and turnkey phase. So turnkey styling and kind of installation for interior design, I would separate those out as separate phases, because during construction, I mean, the types of construction projects that I work on, there is no room for an interior designer on site. I literally separate the interior design installation phase from the construction phase, and my team goes on after the main contract is completed. So we do all the finishing stuff. Then obviously it's turnkey and styling, which typically I don't get involved in, but I used to on smaller projects. But on larger projects, it's just not my thing. But you might, turnkey styling might be your thing. So yeah, hopefully those are clear, or as clear as we're going to get to today, because it's a very short session. But we need to be really clear about what happens at individual stages of a project. So, and obviously the post-occupancy and photography stage, which here in the UK we call the use stage, I think, and Americans call the evaluation phase, which, call it what you want, right? It's like, it's the post-occupancy stage once everyone's moved in. So hopefully we've got all those stages. So where we are in the workbook, is just this area right here on page 3, this first little bit. We just explained these. Obviously, the blog post goes into a little bit more greater detail as well. So I know for those of us who are kind of used to construction projects, these phases are pretty ingrained in us. But I find that the internet creates a lot of confusion with misleading or incorrect information. And so this can really end up being quite confusing. So the list that I have provided for you helps to kind of separate these phases in a practical way, which directly relates to the job role that you might be undertaking as an interior designer at the separate stages of a project, but also helps you to kind of communicate to your clients which or what each of the phases is, and then what is involved and how much work is involved. So you see, most clients have no idea how a project takes shape even. So they watch TV shows and think that, you think up a winning design scheme in a few minutes, then you communicate that by waving your hands in the air and doing some magic stuff like this, and then, a perspective drawing pops out of thin air and it magically gets built in a week. And so when you try to explain, for example, that our fee is over 50,000 pounds or dollars, they get confused as to why a week's work is costing them that much. So it's not their fault, obviously. This is what a lot of people think happens in interior design. It can be really, really confusing. So it's actually our job as the designer to help our clients to understand what it is that we do, because we offer, or what we offer, every interior designer might offer something completely different from another designer. And, that is also the beauty of the industry. But for those who are out there trying to do this without any guidance, it can be really soul destroying and confusing, because you're probably, fighting a losing battle. Because you don't have the knowledge or experience or confidence to communicate these critical stages of a project to clients, in terms of a timeline that can take anywhere from a few weeks to, in my case, a few years. And a lot of designers work on projects like I do, which are a little bit larger. And a project takes, from start to finish, a typical timeline on the projects that I work on is 2 to 5 years. So imagine explaining to a client that what they saw, Shay McGee doing in a 45-minute Netflix series, which I actually love Shay McGee so much anyway, that actually would take, 24 months minimum with me, and cost them my fee plus the builder's fee. So which most designers just give in, and they're not confident enough. And then they blame the client for not seeing the value in what they do. And they go off thinking that it's just too hard to be an interior designer and get paid, to do huge, like paid minimum to do huge amounts of work. And, they're left alone, not making any profit. So hopefully you can see how that can affect everything. All right. So the next little bit is, what project phases do you currently offer in your business? So don't get hung up on what the technical name of the project phase is or what it's called. Just write them down, the phases in what you offer in your own words. And I think that's all that matters at this point. You need to kind of clarify in your own mind what it is that you do. So what services do you offer at each phase of a project? That's all that we're doing on this question. When you start to see it all kind of spread out like this, all of a sudden you're like, wow, I do a lot of work. So all you have to do is, under this question, literally, what project phases do you currently offer in your business? Write down in your own words what it is that you do, because that will help clarify in your own mind, rather than try and be technical about it, because it's not what this is all about. So now at the bottom of the page, write down for yourself which project phase or which project phases cause you the most problems. So for example, during the concept phase, the client might keep changing their mind. That used to happen to me a lot. So, or the construction phase never seems to end because of project delays. Or a typical one I hear a lot is that the client wants more details at the concept stage to kind of help them make decisions. So, which makes you think that you need to start 3D modeling, detailing, choosing furniture when you're just agreeing a concept. And yeah, obviously you hadn't and shouldn't have thought that far ahead, but the client starts pushing you around, I suppose, in a way, because you're not confident or you don't have the tools or knowledge to prevent this from happening. So I've titled this area like a focus area, because I kind of wanted to highlight that this is the area that needs fixing. So no matter what you take away from this session today, this is what you need to find a way to fix. So which project phases cause you the most problems? Write that down at the bottom of the page, because that is your big, big problem. All right. Let's move on to the next page, titled Overlapping Phases. Oh, I printed this off earlier. And obviously work through my workbook, and then just trying to help everyone, because this was the one page I was going to show everyone. And my little toddler has managed to like draw all over it. But anyway, let's keep going. No surprise. Okay, so the idea here was to create a timeline that you could kind of circle, maybe using different colored pens to see which phases are overlapping. So here's one I prepared earlier. So let's do it together. You can see I kind of tried to circle these phases. So, and these in the same color. and then I did these in a different color. So I'm grouping these and I'm grouping these. That's how I intended this page to be used. Or you can just use the bits on the side. Excuse the toddler's scribble. So think about your interior design services that you're offering. Do any of your current project phases overlap? So, of course, call them what you want. That's not important. Let's just identify the area where you're leaking your fees or doing work for free, basically, because that is what, if you're doing this, you're leaking fees and working for free. So unless you know what you're doing, but in most cases, most people are leaking them because they're grouping everything together. So use the timeline and just ask yourself, is your concept phase overlapping with your detail design phase? Are you lumping everything into one phase? And I'm not laughing seriously, because this is surprising the biggest mistake I see pretty much every interior designer doing. They literally charge a lump sum fee for everything and they just call it one phase. And well, it's not surprising that you're hemorrhaging money, because you just cannot do that, because you can't, you don't have a crystal ball. You cannot know what the rest of the project is going to involve without a signed off concept. So yeah, use the timeline below: pre-design phase, concept or design phase, permissions phase, detail design phase, technical design, pricing phase or tender phase, construction, interior installation, and then turnkey styling, and then post-occupancy or photography. All right, how are we going for time? We've got a lot of pages to go. Promise we'll be on time. So, and I'm not saying actually that it's bad to kind of never include them all together. So what I'm wanting to do is really highlight what it is that you're doing, so that you can kind of make a conscious decision moving forward, whether this is kind of benefiting your business or not. So I personally have many times, and I do quite often, include detail design and technical design and the permissions phase and tender all in one. So that kind of section, that's how my business works. I do concept and then detail, technical, permissions, and tender, I'll kind of all do as one phase. And I explain it to my clients in a way that they understand why I've done that and why it makes sense in their specific project to do that. So it's not that I do it because I'm lazy or because I don't know what I'm doing. It's a strategic way to run a project for me, to either kind of move things along quickly or really to remove wasted time toing and froing over little details that really don't matter to the client. And that's where I can take control over the detail and design and technical phase. So yeah, now that you've identified where your projects overlap, write down in the focus area section at the bottom, what, if anything, is the biggest problem for you in your business? I'll give you a second to do that. What, if anything, is the biggest problem for you in your business? It could be overlapping. It might be that you're not overlapping. And for those of you who have joined us late, we are about to move on to the 5th page of the workbook, which you can download from our website, iws.online, or from Instagram in my bio, or from YouTube. Just follow the link. So let's move on to the next page, which is page 5. And this is called Typical Phasing Mistakes. Typical phasing mistakes. Go through these relatively quickly. Are you making any phasing mistakes? And if so, what are they? So just write down the answer to that. For example, are you knowingly lumping or joining phases together? Sorry, unknowingly. Are you unknowingly phasing things together? Are you missing information? So maybe did you not know that sourcing or detail design were indeed separate phases of a project? Did you think that this was just what interior designers did, and that was the main thing that they got paid to do? And so you do it all, which is, it's pretty normal that interior designers think that, especially when they're first starting out. well, especially when they look at what other interior designers seem to be doing, and it looks like that's what they're doing. So because of that, it can really appear to be quite like that's all we do. So whatever it is for you, write it out. Don't judge it. Nothing is right or wrong. It's just a bit of data that is going to change your life, really, moving forward, because you now know what you need to do to fix it. So question 2, can you identify which phases you need to refine in order to make your services more profitable? So what I mean by this, so this is next question 2 on page 5. If you are lumping your detail design into your concept phase, do you need to start refining your detail design phase, or is it the concept phase that needs the focus? So are you doing high quality 3D photorealistic renders at concept phase, with the exact finishes and furniture? You shouldn't be, unless you've specifically agreed that as part of your service. If so, you need to delineate. Is that a word? You need to delineate. You need to choose what is included in your concept phase and what is included in your detail design phase. So, because at the moment you obviously don't have a difference. They're the same thing. And then write it down. Write the answer to the third question right at the bottom. What is your focus area? So, are you making any phasing mistakes? If so, what are they? At the top, I wrote detail design and technical design and tender. Number 2, can you identify which phases you need to refine in order to make your services more profitable? I did this for myself, and I said literally the technical design phase. And thirdly, what is the one thing that you can fix in your services straight away? And I wrote outsource the technical design. Oops. Is this the right bit? Well, I'll read it out anyway. Outsource the technical design or leave it to the builder in a design and build contract, which is the design portion of the work. So that's the part that I identified for myself to be, the key issues for myself. Because even now, as as a designer that's been in the business for 20 years, I mentioned earlier that for me, even after undertaking this session, I found that at this point in time in my business, the one thing that my clients hire me for is the technical ability. So the fact that they're hiring an interior designer with architectural skills is my client's benefit, and that is what sets me apart from other designers in my area. But at the moment, I have a 20-month-old child, so the way I used to work kind of isn't really possible for me anymore. And so I need to work on the technical aspects of my project basically after 7 p.m. every night when my baby goes to sleep. And we all know that at 7 p.m. at night, the last thing anyone wants to do, especially as a tired mum, is to start specifying complex interior architecture projects. It's not working for me right now. So you can see that things can change in your business even after many years. And, all of a sudden you need to rethink how you do things. So even if it's just for a little while or until, we decide to send our little human to daycare, so which I'm not ready to do yet. So I need to figure out how I'm going to run these projects. So what do I need to fix? Well, I need to look at whether I'm willing to offer technical design for the next year while I hang out with my toddler, really. So that's my dilemma. And, I might outsource it for a little while, which is what I wrote down, or change that project structure to allow the builder to take on the technical aspects of the project, which in most places around the world is, you probably know, is called a design and build setup, which gives the builder control over the certain aspects of the technical design elements once they get to the construction phase of a project. So it basically means that I can design and they do the detail and technical design. So, what I will probably propose, and I've already spoken to one of my clients about this, is we'll probably just do a more heavy concept. So concept, but still get sign off, and then do detail design, but bring those two phases together. But then technical design will move over to the builder. Once we've chosen the builder, we might have to bring in pricing and bidding a little bit earlier. But in this specific project, I think we might work with the same builder that we've been working with on other projects. Okay, so the next couple of questions, if you're any business owner, no matter your industry, you kind of should know the answer to these questions off by heart. I will go through them. So write down what comes to mind first. If you're not sure, for the majority of you, you will know the answer to these questions instantly because this is the information used to market yourself. So if you don't know it, you need to focus on this. Right. So we're going on to the next page here. Which is, I think I've got my pages mixed up. Thanks, little human, for ripping all my pages apart. Making your design services unique. Is it? No, helping your clients see the value. Okay, so it is in order. Okay, cool. So firstly, what is your USP, your unique selling point, and what do you do differently to other interior designers? So for me, obviously, the fact that I bring the technical skills of an architect into my interior design business is what sets me apart. And that's what I use in my marketing. So that is how I market my interior design business, that I cross over the gray area between architecture and interiors. So that is, here I wrote complex projects and difficult briefs, exceptional technical knowledge. So that is what my USP is. Next one is, what is your favorite phase of a project and why? So for me, it's obviously space planning and technical design. I love difficult things that no one else can do. I love it. That's my jam. That's my stuff. So, here, same thing I wrote. Space planning, technical design. Cool. Third question, why are you the best person to hire to undertake this phase of a project? I'm unique. No one has the exact training or, building or construction experience that I have, especially considering, now that I've worked on projects on almost every continent in the world, which I love and I feel really proud and grateful for. But, what is it for you? If you don't know the answer to these questions, make a note to work on this page specifically, because for those of you who don't have clients yet, this is the glaringly obvious one. If you don't have clients yet, or you can't secure a client, this is the reason it's on this page, because this is where you need to focus. You need to understand these three things, and this is what you need to do to market yourself. So if you don't have clients, this is the one. Basically, get clarity on your marketing. Okay, sorry. Just a bit of water. Okay. Next page is making your design services unique. All right. How we're all getting along. Let's go and answer the questions. So, what specific skills are required for the phases that you want to specialize in? So, do you need to learn to draw in CAD? Do you need to render in 3D? Do you need to learn to detail design, or do you need to understand technical design? So, for example, if you want to work in luxury interiors, you will need to understand and see and learn to read and design detail to an exceptionally high level. Or you need to be able to communicate that to somebody so that you can communicate that to your builder. So at the highest level, because your clients, luxury clients, will already naturally be able to see that because they've been training their eye for like their whole lives. But often us interior designers aren't, born into luxury. And so, we have to train ourselves to see this stuff. So second question, what skills or tasks do you lack or need to outsource to provide these at the highest level? So, can you learn these things, or will you just outsource them? So there's no right or wrong answer here. You just need to make a decision, really, because this obviously affects your ability to provide the services that you want to offer in the first place. And then obviously how much you have to charge for that to make it work for you. Next question. How can you adjust your services or your projects to make your interior design business work for you? So for me at the moment with my toddler, I might just adjust my services possibly temporarily, or I'll see how it works out. But for me, I'll either outsource my technical design for the time being, or just talk to my clients to see if a design build kind of setup is going to work with their projects and if it's a good fit. So I'll do the design and the builder does the technical design, and I can stay on as the client's consultant during the phase of a project. So no more staying up to midnight working on technical details when I'm tired, because that's not a good idea. I made a really, really, really big boo-boo this year. Yeah, big boo-boo. Anyway, all right. Well, if you want to see what I wrote creativity to question 1, creativity, and someone that I absolutely love on Instagram is that guy who, I think his name's Matthew someone. He does the Platinum Attack. Anyway, just write that down as a note. Number 2, what skills and tasks do you lack or need to outsource? I need a bit more patience. I need some more time. And then I need a bit more concentration. So not working in the middle of the night. Yeah. Can you adjust your services? Well, I'll be outsourcing my technical or changing the project structure. So yeah, as you can see, it's really relevant for whatever phase of the business you're at, and can really kind of highlight what's going on for you at any point in time. So you can use this again and again every 4 months to 6 months. Just when you start to see a change, or that you start to feel aggravated at something, or something doesn't seem to be working out. The last page is the big difference. Now, if you've been honest with yourself, you'll be able to answer these questions pretty easily. First question: what are the top 3 things you must do to make your interior design business more profitable? The key is to really look at the bottom focus area of every page that we've just done. So go back through and see what you wrote on every page at the bottom. So basically see what's glaringly obvious. So everything's falling apart. Yeah, so are you including all the phases of a project together? And just literally that focus area at the bottom of every page. Just use it to note that down. Secondly, what quick wins can you do right now that will help you right away? So look at what is something you can kind of literally do right now, straight away, that'll make a huge difference. So this might be simply separating your concept from your detail design phase in your services, or simply increasing your prices and creating a marketing brochure. Really, that kind of helps you to explain what you do and how you do it to help your potential clients see the value in the way that you work. Could be something really simple, like just doing that. So what did I write? I wrote automate my emails more. I've got a lot of emails coming in at the moment, also for lots of new jobs, and I'm like, I need a new automated email because I have an old automated email. Work smarter during the day. Yeah, because starting and stopping with a toddler is lots of fun. Those of you who are working parents, working with little humans is fun. Lots of fun. Wouldn't swap it for the world, but yeah, I got to find a new way of working, because when she was up to 12 months, it was fine. She was like an angel child. And now a little bit further down, I'm doing really complex projects, specification writing, detailing, technical design, and all of a sudden I'm tired at the end of the day because she's so much more high energy than she was, even 6 months ago, or even 4 months ago, or even 2 months ago. So yeah, learning every day. Okay, so lastly, what is the longer term thing you need to do or start working towards to make your business more profitable? Write it down. You might not have written this one down because it might not kind of flow as nicely as the rest, but and it might require a little bit of extra thought. So but at least we've kind of given you the guidance and pointed you in the right direction. Okay, so right, that's it. Right on 45. Yeah. Who wants to share what quick win they'll be doing to move forward? You can type it into the chat. You can do it on Instagram. I can watch you now. Also, if you saved in questions from earlier, just type them in now, and I'll do my best to answer all the questions or as many questions as possible. Obviously, not all questions are created equal, but yeah, one question might take a little bit longer than the other. So yeah, how did you get on? How was that for you? Did you find, what is the biggest issue for you, or what's the quickest win that you could really get on with right now? Or did anyone find anything that kind of was a surprise that you didn't realize was the issue for you, that you were like, oh no, well, it's definitely that I'm undercharging, but actually it ended up being something different for you? Don't worry, I won't read out your name. You can share it. Someone said, work on my mindset and put myself out there. Yeah, I know, that's a tough one. Someone else is saying, I'm just starting my interior decorating business. Should I lower my rate in order to get projects? No way. So even no matter where you are in business, you have skills. So the only time I would say to, well, there really, really is no time that you need to lower your rates. Ever. So I would just choose what it is that you're good at and focus on that and sell that. So that page where marketing, that is where you need to kind of highlight what it is that you're good at, highlight what sets you apart from other people, and sell that at the best rate that you can sell it. So the biggest mistake I made at the beginning was I could do everything. And so I did do everything, and I did it all for a very, very cheap price. And so I had a lot of clients, like literally hundreds and hundreds of clients, because I was cheap. But that wasn't sensible. I could have been a much more less crazy person at the time, and just had a much better life and not have to work so hard because all my rates were so low. And I was at that stage, I had already had 15 years of architectural experience in my business. So I wasn't a new designer, I was just new to business. And I just didn't know that I didn't have to be cheap. So you don't have to be cheap. You just have to know how to market what it is that you're doing, and then help people see the value in what it is that you're doing. So yeah, definitely don't reduce your prices, even if you're starting out. And all of the mentees that I work with are basically starting out in the business. Well, not all of them, about 50% of the mentees that I work with are basically starting out in their business, and they don't have to start at the bottom. And that is really key, because no matter where you're coming from as an interior designer, you have a set of skills, and you should be really paid for those set of skills. And I see this all over the internet, and it really bugs me. People say, as when you're starting out, work for free. When you're starting out, lower your rates. You don't have to do it. That we used to do that. You don't have to do it anymore, because there are people who want what you're selling, or want your skills, and are willing to pay for it. You just have to show them the value in what it is that you're doing. So you definitely don't have to. It's a really good question. I'm glad you asked. That's another question. The quick win is to actually detail your design services. That's a good one. Hello, how are you? Sorry, I joined late. Best way to find clients, best way to structure payments. Well, best way to find clients really varies in terms of what you're doing. So, there's not one quick answer, because for me, the way I find clients is by networking. But that works better for commercial, because commercial business people, they're not sitting on the internet watching YouTube. Well, they probably are, but they're typically not using social media as much as they are networking face to face. And these people trust you face to face, rather than, they don't really hire people. There is obviously the exception to the rule, but it's very rare to them just hire someone off the internet. So especially for the kind of figures that I charge, they want to meet with me face to face. So that's how I market my services. Obviously, a lot of the mentees that I teach, they market their services in a really different way, because they're just starting out, and they need free marketing, and they're not as confident to do face-to-face marketing. So training training and doing social media marketing on the platforms where their ideal client is hanging out is one of the other ways to get clients. I used to get clients from Instagram. A lot of my mentees get clients from Instagram. A lot of mentees get clients from Facebook, LinkedIn, like all social media. And then obviously, traditional forms of marketing as well. So it really depends on where your client is going to see what it is that you're doing. So my clients don't see me on social media. That's why I don't advertise my interior design business on social media. My mentees see it. So that is why I advertise my mentorship program on social media. I don't obviously advertise that face-to-face in most places because I would really need a big catchment in order to do that. And I don't know if I'm ready to speak at a gig yet. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question. Marketing, how do we find time for this on top of everything? It's a good question. I would basically do what's working and filter out everything that isn't. So the one thing, Gary Keller's One Thing is one of my favorite books on the planet. Literally focus on the thing that makes a difference. It's going to be a lot of work at the beginning, and you'll see that it's you've got to figure out what's working, what's not working. Obviously, that takes a little bit of extra effort at the beginning. And I always have this analogy for my mentees that it's it's like hi, but it's an analogy of a pot boiling. At the beginning, when you put a pot on a stove, there's a lot of energy that goes in, but you don't see any bubbles. But it's heating, it's heating, it's heating, and nothing's happening. But then that first bubble pops and you see it and you're like, yes. And then the next bubble pops. And then 2 minutes later, there's still the same energy and effort going in it, but it starts to boil. So that amount of energy that goes into getting that pot to boil at the beginning that just no one sees before you see any bubble, that is where most people give up, because there's just so much energy and you don't see any results at the beginning typically. So you can't, it can be really quite disheartening. So, but because you're one of my mentees, you'll know that this is not going to be, too long. It's just this intense period while you're marketing and figuring things out, and then it gets easier. So once you figure out what works for you, once you figure out where your ideal clients are, your marketing message, what sets you apart from everyone else, then things start to get easier. So for me, obviously, I don't need to market my interior design services more than a couple of times a year, and I only need a couple of projects a year to bring in really, really great income. So obviously, what I charge now, what I was charging at the beginning are very, very different. But at the beginning, it was all free marketing as well. And to this day, I don't. No, I lie. I was going to say I never paid for marketing in my interior design business. I did. I tested Google ads, which were just really, really expensive and didn't work, because at the time I didn't know how to market myself. And then, so no matter how much money you throw at it, it's not going to work anyway. And then secondly, I paid for something, which I've forgotten the name of now. It's actually in our mentorship course, but I literally just paid for the feeling of getting clients. It was something like Bark, but it wasn't Bark back in the day. So hopefully that answered your question. What's the best way to develop interior design skill? Is to start. No matter what you're doing, start right now, like today. And then I wouldn't don't feel like, I think the hardest thing is most people will put you down in this industry, which I think is it's really confusing, because everyone will say, oh, you're going to need to go get experience, but the people that you need to try and get experience from will be the people that put you down, which is really disheartening and heartbreaking and really confusing. Yet so many people want our services and are willing to give us an opportunity. So just typically not other interior designers, which is really crazy. So go to all of your friends, anyone you know, and ask them if you can do a project for them. Or actually, I've got a a blog post on our website, idbs.online, which gives you literally 50 ideas. Just download the workbook for, I think it's how to build a portfolio without any projects. So just go and try and find that blog post on our website and literally download it. It will give you 50 ideas on how to do different types of projects, how to build a portfolio, and all the ideas, because you need to start. That's the baseline answer. You just need to start, because that is the only way to develop your interior design skill. You can't. And I think this is the whole way the whole reason I do what I do, because I don't believe you can become a highly skilled interior designer, and no one around the world everyone around the world will agree as well, because you cannot be a designer by reading a textbook. You have to have the practical experience, and that is where all of my training comes in, because that is what we do. We literally train a practical way rather than a textbook, which is university. And ironically, ACID, all of any interior design body around the world, British Institute of Interior Design, SBID, IIDA, they want is a bit of education and experience. So every single one requires both. And I think that is the beauty. So I think where I get a little bit antsy is that I don't think we need a degree to become interior designers, but I do believe that we do need the education component with the practical component. And everyone around the world will always say that the most important part is the practical component, because you can't have one without the other. You need the experience. And the way to get the experience is just to start. No matter what the project is, start it and move forward. I think that was one of the things I did early on. Me and my best mate in third year architecture, we were already building 3 buildings when no one else had any experience. And that is why I never was without a job. So, but it was because of that I got the endless job opportunities. I was always snapped up, always at the top of my construction drawings. Obviously, I was already doing construction drawings in third year architecture to a level of better than architects I see today, which, funnily enough, I was checking planning applications last night for a project, thinking, who submitted this and how is this legal? But I was like, wow, embarrassing in some places how bad and poor people's drawings are. But I look back now, 22 years ago, I was doing drawings at university level. And I wasn't taught at university. I was taught by doing it. It was on-site project experience that helped me get to that level. It wasn't university. Obviously, university gave me the background and the confidence to just do it, when I probably was a little bit overconfident to do it back then. But I didn't know what trouble I was getting myself into. But it was just the ability to do it in the first place, which will give you the most experience that you need. I've got questions here as well. I hope you, of course I remember you. I moved to the UK last October. Yay! I would like to start an interior design business here. Please let me know the procedure here. Okay, well, Maduka, how about, we've got the InterDesign section of the website. That's a perfect question for that, because I think that'll be a really long-winded question that's quite personal. Is there any training that I can get experience here, such as doing voluntary work? Well, okay. Well, I think another thing that you could do, this is specifically for Maduka here, I would look as well at that. Well, no, you've got so much experience, Maduka. I wouldn't, you don't need to do any free work. I would just start marketing myself here. Just, you're not new. Like, Maduka, you're not new. I think we need to have a chat, because you're not new at all. You're a very, very experienced interior designer. Just because you're in a new location doesn't mean you're a new designer. You have a lot of experience, so you definitely should not be doing any free work. You should be marketing yourself as an interior designer. So wagging my finger at you, whether you're on YouTube, so wagging on YouTube. And I'm glad you're here, Maduka. Tips for young interior contractor who is just starting out. Ooh, interior contractor. So, I mean, phew, amazing. There are a lot of designers out there who don't have the skills that you have. So this is for Sadiq. I would suggest highlighting what it is that you're good at, and then seeing what skills uh, match with designers who don't have those skills. So obviously, we call it working in the trade. So you're going to be working for other interior designers. So the reason why working as an interior contractor might be a little bit, I would, if it was me guiding you, I would suggest that that was only part of your business, because it's a lot of labor, it's a lot of time, and because you're going to be working for a trade partner, which is another interior designer or an architect or someone else in the trade, possibly a developer, they need to make a profit on what it is that you're doing. So you're basically an employee working for a lower rate, because they're the ones making the profit, and they still need to make a profit on the work that you're doing. And because of that, it's brilliant, because typically you're going to get repeat work. So this is great for repeat income, but not great to making good money and good profit. So I would say that this is one arm of your business. Possibly not. I mean, as someone starting out, this is a really good idea. So great for repeat work and great to get experience. But long term, I would suggest getting your own clients, or else you're going to be very, very hardworking, like I was, and it's not fun. It can be very, very. It's just exhausting. So yeah. We do design and contracting, but yes, we do work with design. Oh, design and contracting, building work. Oh, sorry, apologies. So tips for a young contractor who's just starting out. So, okay, so you're going to have to clarify the question for me. You do design and build, or design and contract, but you work with designers. You're going to have to give me a bit more, because I don't really understand. Let me just see if there are any other questions here. Interested to hear how to present to the client the concept first. Well, then design. The design is the concept. So I would say there's a bit of work that needs to happen before you start designing. So there's a bit of research on a site, or a bit of context about the project. You might need to go and measure the site. So there's obviously a phase of the project that happens beforehand, understanding the client's brief. If it's a big project like the projects I work on, it would be possibly room schedules and understanding room requirements for every single room in a hotel, for example. And then that body of information will then inform the concept and the design. So I always suggest starting with a design idea, and that obviously will evolve and filter through the whole project. So you present the concept. The concept is the design, I suppose, the design concept to the client at the beginning. Once you've gotten all the previous information, so the pre-design information, then concept. And then you would, there might be a bit of toing and froing. Sometimes, I'm the kind of person that loves to provide options. Other designers don't do that, and that's totally okay. So find a way that works for you. But I wouldn't typically do detailed design in concept at all. So concept might be a blank white model, if you really must do a 3D model, but all white. You don't want to start talking about all the details at that point, because I can tell from experience, like, it's so much fun when you're showing a model to a client and you just want to sign off the concept, and they're going, "Oh, I don't like the carpet." I'm like, "No, it's not about the carpet. It's about the layout and the whole feel of the room." And they're like, "I just don't like the carpet," and then they just can't get past the carpet. So it's you've just got to help yourself and try and get them to sign off what it is that you want them to sign off. It's just the concept, the big idea, get it signed off, move on. So hopefully that answered your question about design concept first. What's the best way for students to get their foot in the industry? So the students straight out of school it's a hard one, because before you've even finished school, some people already have work, and that can be really disheartening. But the best way is just to start. So even if you're not getting work from other interior designers, try and get work or your own work. So I always find, well, it's something I typically say, it's easier to get a client than it is to get a job in the interiors industry. And I can imagine that that can be really disheartening to hear. But it's just that a lot of interior designers, like me, work on our own, and we just don't need people. And that makes up the majority of interior designers, because we just, well, a lot of us are people who are interior designers later in life, and we just want to do the type of projects we love. And we don't want to have like 10 people working underneath us, because we just don't want that. Or we're not taking on the types of clients that require that. Plus, you're competing on those types of projects with, the biggest firms in the industry, so which are very like, Hassel, for example, or even WATG. So all of these companies that are huge, multi-billion-dollar companies, and you just, I mean, you could get one or two projects and start getting to that level, but you'd want to have a team ready straight away. So so the best way to get students to get a foot in the industry is to start working straight away. The reason why I was never out of work was because I went and found projects straight away, and while I was still at uni. So get experience as soon as possible. And that was, I really, like, we never, and the best friend who I did these projects with same thing, never was without work, because we were just so brash and gutsy, I think. I look back now and I'm like, I was nuts, but we really did fantastic projects way back, even when we're at uni. So start now, get experience as quickly as possible, because that is what matters. Your design concepts, unfortunately, at the early stages, especially as a student, your folio will count for some, but it won't stick. It won't help you stand apart. What will stand you apart is your experience. So get that ASAP. I guess it was already answered, but I had to give my daughter a bath. I had probably missed it. I think the question to answer it was, what was my question? It was how to find the time for marketing on top of everything. Yeah, focus on the one thing that works. That was just to answer that question again. One more question. I'll try, because we're a little bit over time and it's my baby's sleeping time. So I'll keep her up if I'm too late. It's a family business that my father used to run as a one-man show, and now my father wants me to run the company as he is getting old. I don't have a degree in this field. It doesn't matter if you have a degree or not, as long as, when it comes to contracting, I mean, construction project management is a really big, probably this is the one area I would suggest you might want to get some education in, especially with contract management, because construction is very legal, and you'll need to understand contracts. You'll need to understand the construction process. You'll need to understand, every phase of a project architecturally, because you're going to potentially be doing all of those as a project manager, and builder, and project manager, designer, and builder. So you're undertaking all of those roles. I'm not sure which country you're in, Sadiq, but in the UK, you'll also do lead designer role. You might have to do health and safety, or you will have to do health and safety. So there's a lot that you need to know. And if you're just starting out, I would suggest probably it's funny because I'd say not many people, I would suggest going down the path of a degree, but a degree in project management is probably something you do need these days. IUAE. Well, in Dubai, you do either the British way or the American way. So the American way, you'll get away with a lot more. But if you're doing it the British way, and in Dubai, you might be asked to do both. So you almost have to be trained in both the US system as well as the UK system. So in your case, I would probably suggest getting some kind of education in project management. Um, Hopefully that's helpful, Sadiq, because I would really suggest project management rather than interior design. Um, it's mostly British, yeah. I definitely do project management then because it becomes really legal. And I know in UAE it's slightly different, but you just don't want to get yourself in trouble, especially with a construction firm. So hopefully that helps. That's it. Yeah, okay. So did that help you? It's a pleasure. So yeah, I'm going to go and put my little baby girl to bed. So yeah, as you know, I run a mentorship program for interior designers who run a business and for career changers who want to transition into interior design by working for themselves. And our next round starts in September. We limit the numbers we can take, obviously, because I get to know every one of my students. And yeah, you'll receive personalized support from me in obviously a group setting, which is really truly fabulous. And we have experienced designers and new designers all working beautifully together, which I know sounds kind of surprising, but it works really well because the experienced designers are typically blown away by what the new designers are doing, and then the new designers are like motivated by all of the work that the experienced designers are doing, and there's no animosity. It's just really generous kind of helpful information, and everyone works together really well. So yeah, if you're one of my past mentees, you'll know what I'm talking about, and I'm so glad to see a few of you here. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. That's it. If you want to make all this stuff easier, we kind of hold your hand all the way through the step-by-step process and help you personally get to where you need to do and make sure you have everything on hand so that you can, possibly make life a lot easier for you and succeed in interior design businesses. So if that's interesting to you, check out our mentorship program at idbs.online. And I will let you all go. Thank you for joining me today. Hopefully you have worked through the workbook and it's been a successful day for you. So well done. Ciao. And let me stop the live stream here. Ciao, everyone.